everyone. Nick Powell's publisher of 1851. I'm glad to be able to spend some time with you on this afternoon. We're going to dive into stories about A&W. This is particularly of interest to those who are thinking of or considering becoming a franchise partner with the brand. This is our job at 1851 to give you a deep dive into the stories and really help frame the why you, why now. So Kevin, Dale, and Linda, thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. I'm going to twist this around. Usually I like to go through everybody tell me the story, but Kevin, I would like for you to introduce everyone because it's partly, this is your story too.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks, Nick. Great to see you. Hello, everyone. We have with us today within the A&W family, we have our chairman and longtime franchise partner, Dale Mulder. Say hello, Dale.
Hi, how are you?
Nice and then
looks pretty frozen.
Yeah, things.
There he goes.
And then Linda Mulder, who's second generation, not only multi-unit franchise operator within our system, but also the vice chair of the A&W Franchise Association, which is a very meaningful part of the A&W story, is the partnership that was created 10 plus years ago, Nick, that brought us to where we are today and helped us to become an independent brand again 10 plus years ago, and the successes that we've had subsequent to that change in ownership. And our franchise association has been a big part of that.
So thank you for that, and I appreciate everyone joining. We're going to go through stories, but Dale, let's start with you. Tell me what your A&W story is. If someone says, "Tell me your story," what is important to you about what you've accomplished with the business?
I like the root beer. No kidding. 1963 was a big year for me. That's a long time ago, and we started with A&W then. We bought a small A&W operation in Lansing, Michigan. It was a seasonal operation. By that, I mean we were open April and 1st of April. We gave away the food on April Fool's Day every year. It was a tradition. And we closed generally sometime around 1st of November or slightly earlier if the weather got, snow in Michigan, which you never could tell. So anyway, it was a seasonal kind of business, very different than today. We were open 6 to 7 months, and car hops, as some folks on this webinar might know, we served our product at the cars, brought them to the window, hung it on the window on a tray. All that has certainly changed now, but certainly reflects a lot of good memories for me. And small operation, exciting. A&W was one of the first in the business. McDonald wasn't even a name that came to the forefront at the time. That's hard to understand or believe today, but it's true. A&W is the big guy in the game, and we hope we can continue that tradition for a long time to come. A lot of changes since then. Built dining rooms and put full service restaurants into place. Enlarged menus, which I think probably is something almost every restaurant chain over the years has done. Good or bad, I'm not. I wouldn't suggest that's all been good. Lots of extra work, lots of extra talent needed. Changed the system altogether. Car hops have sort of gone by the wayside in our system. It's still true in other competitive chains, but we've sort of gone more to the drive-through windows and gotten away from the car hop business. But anyway, it's been a wonderful and exciting experience for me for the past 58 years, and hope I can keep doing it for a few more years.
Love it.
Root beer is good for your root beer is good for your health. A&W root beer.
Clearly. So I have a few things to unpack with you, and then Linda, I'll go to your story. But Dale, and this is kind of a nostalgic question, but when you're becoming a franchise owner with the system, I mean that's a pioneer role that you flash forward 50 plus years, you've accomplished a significant amount here. If you remember back to some of the early feelings as being a business operator, what was it like? I mean, you're opening the doors. Is it exciting to be a part of the community? Are you like the family? Like what's going on through your mind when you're becoming a business operator?
Well, it was exciting. It was very exciting. We hired young people, of course, just like today, to be car hops and cooks. They were eager and happy to work for a summer job. Whether they be in the cook position or whether they be in the car hop position. The girls love to take the trays out to the cars. It was really an unbelievable experience, and it wasn't like going to work. It was like going spend the day with your family. The kids became family. You became the kind of trainers for them. You became their second moms and dads in the business. It was a whole different atmosphere, a whole different scenario than it is today. But not saying today is bad or not at all that way, because it is. We train a lot of young people in this business, and a lot of them remember it for a long, long time. In fact, the rest of their life, many of them. Quite an experience.
That's awesome. And I would imagine, I mean, obviously you're deeply involved with the business today. When you think about franchisees today, it probably not much changes from the feeling that you have when you're going into business within a franchise like A&W.
Yeah, the big difference is the cost of investment. That's changed slightly. We were able to make a living working 6 months, and there was an old saying in those days that what day do you go to Florida to the sunshine and out of the cold weather? Literally, people worked 6-7 months and took vacation the rest of the year, cleaned up their equipment, made everything ready for the next year, got ready, but took a few months off and lived a good life.
Last thing that, and Linda, I'll go to you next. Last thing that I want to unpack is your vision for the business as a part of A&W. I would imagine when you get into it, there's no way you could have imagined this journey. It's almost one day at a time. But now as you reflect backwards on the journey and being a part of something for so long, one, to prospective franchise operator, you see loyalty and growth and commitment. Not many brands have a franchisee like you that's been committed to the business for as long and as important as you have. As you reflect back on this, what was the purpose of this? What is the most that you got out of being part of the business?
Well, I think the most the best experience and the best memories about all this are the things that you did with human beings, with young people, and how you see them in their life's adventure, and they've succeeded. They got great training. We tried to show them the right ways to do things, the right way to work, the right way to be responsible. It's a great pleasure to look back and see some of those young people that are now in their midlife and families that they have, and it's a great thing to watch, and it's a great thing to know that you've been a part of that.
Love it. Linda, I would love for you to share your A&W story next, everything that you want our audience to know about your story.
Well, there you go. I started when I was 12. I was a dishwasher, family business, second generation. My brothers are also in the business we currently run. We have 7 A&Ws right now. It's been a journey, and it's a people thing. It's all about people. You have to like people. You want to be out there with friends and family, and it's exactly right. You're growing up in a family when you're in A&W for sure. And I wanted to touch on, I had this discussion today with another person, that the A&W family includes a lot of women. Unlike a lot of other brands, there are wives that stand side by side with their husbands, running the business day to day. They come to our meetings, very involved. And I'm very proud of that.
Go back to being a dishwasher. And
Can I?
Mugs.
yeah, everybody wants to go back to being a dishwasher.
Yeah, life was so simpler then.
Life was
Oh my
simple.
gosh, it was.
Was the dream? Did the dream start then, or when
No.
does the dream start that this is going to be your life story?
Everybody's story is different, but I went off to college. I always worked part-time in the business, but I went off to college. I was going to be a Spanish teacher. And right around my seventh senior year, I came back from my honeymoon, and my father said to me, we bought this new restaurant down in Albion and we need help. So I started getting in my car every single day, drove down there, and really realized that I love this business. I love every day you go in, it's a different story, a different challenge to overcome. And I'd had a little bit of experience then with the teaching world. And I thought, yeah, that's not for me. People aren't going to tell me what to do. So that's kind of morphed into, that's how I got into it and just loved it.
Do you feel like the teaching experience you did get? I mean, that's ultimately what you do in your position. You're teaching.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Still.
Yep.
Is that still, like, the passion for teaching is there? It's cross applied into the business that you've chosen to be.
Absolutely. A part of. Yep. Well, this business is everything. It's teaching. You got to learn a little plumbing. Maybe you got to learn a little electrical. You got to do it all and be willing to do it all. I mean, that's part of what this business, that's what makes it fun, honestly.
And not necessarily on the business climate, but on the business in general. If I'm a potential franchisee, what is something that is scary as a business operator that you have to overcome or have overcome as a part of being an owner of a multi-unit system?
Scary, I think. A hurdle for me in the beginning is I went back to school to learn about financials, to learn profit and loss statements and how to read a financial. And I think a lot of business people never get dirty enough into the deep dive into what makes business tick.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, and you have to understand it. And if you don't, you're destined for failure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, to anybody that's thinking about going into business, one, you have to be ready to work hard. I mean, you just said that, Linda, that it's not like you could be the electrician one day, you're the business operator the next day. And that mentality, some people aren't cut for that. But those that are, like, you've clearly decided to continue to scale with A&W and continue to invest your life and your time and your money into this business. Yep. So at some point you had to say, I'm good with all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. It becomes a passion is what happens. And we all find our passions, I think, in different ways. And all of us have to go out and try different things and then say, yeah, no, that's not it. Apparently root beer does run in my veins because I couldn't get away.
What's your future story with the business? Where is your dream adjusted to as you've continued to
the future story is we have 3 youngers coming up, 3rd generations. So we're in the process of trying to onboard them and teach them what it's about and hope that they understand this is a hard job to work at, but it's worth it. So that's my next job in my lifetime career is to send it on to the next generation.
Kevin, you and I have talked about that at length, that this ends up being something that is legacy and multi-generational and family. Like when you hear Linda talk about the next stage of life at A&W, is that on par with what your ideal franchise candidate is thinking, that it's not like jump into this one and done, that this is something for family and legacy and keeping?
Yeah, Nick, exactly right. When I listen to Linda, I could close my eyes and listen to any number of franchise partners in our system. And, we've done this multiple times, but if you go throughout the A&W system and people that are involved in the A&W system, and, we have a one team mentality, all stakeholders are working together for the same purpose. And it's not an exit. It's strengthening the brand every day, everything we do, every decision we make. But when we do that, you talk to people associated with this brand, and if you did a word cloud, and we've done it multiple times. The word that's come out 4 or 5 times already in this brief discussion and comes out every single time as one of the largest, if not the largest words in a word cloud, is family. Everybody working together, everybody. And listen, Linda and I were talking about this the other day. We bicker a little bit. We got a little bickering going on with the family, but but so do families, right? Within an A&W family. But when in these last 2.5 years, for sure, and unprecedented times with COVID and now inflationary pressures, and talk about the R word and the recession and all of that, we've been through all of that as a brand. We've been through all of that as a family, right? And I could give you example after example that working together with our franchise association, our shareholders, our supply chain partners, and things we committed to at the beginning of COVID, we think way back to March 2020 till today, and things we did to say, okay, how do we get our family to the other side of this? And we've been very successful working together to make that happen. And sometimes it's tough choices. You got to give up a little income. You got to give up a little revenue. You got to give up. Everybody has to do their bit, but that's what families do. That's what families do.
Kevin, stay on that for a second, and then Linda, I want your perspective on this, and then Dale. I mean, you've been through various forms of leadership of this business, but one thing that I think stands out on A&W is what you just said. Like, we go back to the family side of business and the bickering, and it's all pointed towards the end goal of how do we continue to make this brand as strong as humanly possible. But what's different with A&W is it is run by the voice of the franchise system. Most franchisors, it's a dictatorship down from the CEO that says, this is what we're doing. They want to add pizza to the menu tomorrow. They add pizza to the menu. It's not like we're going to have a discussion here. It's like we're including the voices of our franchisees. Kevin, do you think is that part of the why? I mean, it's part of why now and why A&W with the family side, but is the voice, is that an important aspect of this business?
100%, 100%, Nick, in that, and you and I have had this discussion before, but to remind you, everything that touches a restaurant at operating level is filtered through, discussed, bickered over with our franchise association, of which Linda is the vice chair. Dale, for many, many years, was the chair of that association. Is now the chairman of the company, of our parent company. So every decision that touches a restaurant gets filtered through a group of franchise operators. Marketing ideas, menu changes, you name it, it gets filtered through that organization. The other thing is that our franchise association is, when we became an independent brand again a little over 10 years ago, our franchise association is one of the two major shareholders in that acquisition. So our franchise association also has 2 of the 5 seats on our company board of directors, on our holding company. So our franchise association not only is a filter for everything that touches restaurants, and these are operators like Linda, like others. They're in their stores. They know how to make a hamburger. They know how to make a batch of root beer. And oh, by the way, I can also do a little electrical and a little plumbing on the side. They all know that. So these are, they know if it's going to work, it's not going to work. The other thing is with the board seats that they have, they're also involved from a strategic standpoint, a longer term vision. And for us, the long-term vision is generational. There's no exit strategy. So when Linda talks about getting the 3rd generation, right, we have other franchise partners that are doing the same thing, getting the 4th generation in some cases started in the business. We're doing the same thing from a company standpoint because we know there's continuity here. So we're getting our next generation of leaders ready to take over and pick up where we left off. knowing there's no exit strategy. We can stay with strategy, and we know we got the time and the runway in which to execute it. That's powerful. That's powerful.
Right. Linda, from a voice standpoint, and you've experienced different levels of leadership with the business. Do you feel like, is that part of the advantage for a franchisee from where you sit? That I mean, obviously you're the vice chair, but for any franchisee, it's like you can say, like, this is my thought, and it's listened to. It might not every idea might not make it all the way through.
Oh, every idea does. If they communicate with their board, we present whatever they communicate. We don't care if they've done it before. It comes up at the board meeting. We go through all of the communications every single time. We address them, and we publish that back to the franchisee to see what, our answers are. They might not always agree as an individual operator, but they get to voice their concerns. Absolutely.
How different is that from your seats, that to have voice? Because you've gone through, again, multiple forms of visionaries at the top. What does it feel like to be a part? You're a part of it. You're not an outsider.
Yeah, no, exactly. It feels empowering, and at the end of the day, it makes your life more rewarding, because you're just not getting told what to do. As I mentioned before, I don't much like that. So it's very important in my world. I don't know if other people feel that's important to them, but to me, it's very important to have a voice.
Dale, how different is that from the different times of the history of the business that you've been a part of? I'm sure there were moments where you felt like you wanted to kick and punch because no one would listen to you, and now it's that's a different type of approach to business.
It's been one of the struggles that I'm most proud of in my life and in my career. I worked hard and continue to, but there were years when we were owned by large conglomerates, and those large conglomerates really didn't have an ear for the franchisee. They had their own idea of what makes up their success. And of course, the franchisee was nothing more than a paycheck of some kind, money producer, not a decision maker in any way, shape, or form. And the difference is just monumental now. Where people in our system, the franchisees, literally regretted and resisted paying royalties. I don't think we have any accounts receivable anymore. The franchisees feel like they're getting their money's worth. They're paying the royalty and doing it with a happy face. So it's been an unbelievable change. Whether it would get through the systems in other franchise operations doesn't appear like there's much going for it, and it is a battle. I mean, look, there's two sides. The franchisor has his side, her side. Franchisee has its side, and we have somehow managed to bring those two factions together in a very happy and mutual, contented way. So it certainly makes running the business and making decisions day to day, particularly it's very difficult business, as Nick, it's not easy to go 7 days a week, morning till night, late. It's difficult, particularly in today's modern age with labor the way it is and other things as well. But at least now we have a voice. It's a real voice. It's not just I'll listen to you with a dumb ear. It's a really meaningful voice. It's a meaningful thing to be involved in. It's changed everything as far as I can tell over the years.
So two sides to this follow-up question for you, Dale. So if you think back, I mean, in your career, you have recessions of the 80s, you have wars of the 90s, you have September 11th, you have 2008, you have COVID. And if you think of the voice of the franchisee during those times, you battle COVID as a collective versus maybe in an '08, it's top down, really driven strictly by a P&L. So two sides to the question, as you reflect backwards on battling during those times, is that the insight that anybody should be looking for, that franchisees are just as smart? And then secondly, when you go through a COVID with all the experience that you've gone through in different business climates, does that change your viewpoint on what you're like? There's going to be an end to this. We don't know when it is, but we know there's going to be an end. Did it change your perspective going into COVID?
Well, I think COVID has changed everyone's perspective. Not only the perspective, but the actual day-to-day life experiences, because the labor market is short. The in-home work ethic became very popular. I think it is now still hanging in there as a very popular thing. I think there are many, many people who really want to do it from home. Well, in the restaurant business, it isn't any do it from home. You better turn up at the restaurant's door each day and do what's necessary to get ready for that customer. But it's all changing as we speak, and I'm not sure any of us. I certainly, for speaking for myself, I'm not sure where this new sort of operational agenda is going. It's going to be interesting to watch it appear, because things are changing as we speak. People are less and less inclined to come into an office. They're less inclined to want to come to a place where they're sort of locked in. They want to be free. And of course, they say they're all working from home, but I suspect there's a lot of other than working from home going on. A lot of Netflix and whatever. I don't think it's all a good day's work like it would be in the office.
I mean, it's different, and I mean, you've experienced variations of generational work ethics, and you're both in restaurant, I'm sure, on as in some of the lower positions all the way to the higher positions. The work ethic has evolved over time, but at some point, no matter what, you figure it out, right?
You have to figure it out. You have to open the doors in the morning, and you have to be there, and you have to have people to take care of the customers. And it still gets down to good food, good service, hot food when it's supposed to be hot, and cold food when it's supposed to be cold. And that is a real challenge. It always has been. It's not getting any easier, but it's still something that we have to do. And if you're going to be in the restaurant business, plan to work hard, and you'll be rewarded for it. But it's changing as we speak. The young people that were eager to come and have jobs, I think we at least feel like there's fewer of those. They're doing other things. They're whatever they're doing, we're not quite sure yet. We haven't figured it out, particularly since this pandemic is seemingly coming to a close. It's going to be interesting to just see where it all goes. But it'll be a challenge. It's a challenge every day.
Kevin, you said the R word, and then of course went on to say what the R word is. But you're
not supposed to do that.
Do you feel like, I mean, obviously the business in general has been getting punched in the gut for a while now, and it continues to. But when you know that you can come out of COVID on the other side, and you've battled through other recessions as a leader before, does that change your mentality? Is it like, all right, it's just another punch? We know that we're a great business and we're still going to be around after this. Does it change the mentality, or how do you approach that as a leader?
Yeah, a great question, by the way, and we talk about this every single day. We stick to our knitting. Dale put it, hot food hot, that's supposed to be hot, cold food cold. How to execute it, the background, some of the backdrop has changed on that. But, we've got a 103-year history, and I was looking this up for another purpose not too long ago. We as a brand, okay, you say, why A&W, why not? We've been there, done that. 17 recessions, one Great Recession, one COVID recession, one Great Depression. Okay. Sugar shortages during World War II, which we know of in our history, where sugar was rationed. Our core product used sugar. Our operators, we as a brand, worked together and we made it through all of that. So it doesn't scare us, right? It doesn't scare us at all. I get asked this question all the time. First of all, are we in a recession? I don't know. We've gotten some good news lately. You got a great jobs report on Friday, which is anti-recessionary, right? And you got a moderating inflation report, CPI report today. Last I looked, the market was going crazy because, one thing that's real is borrowing costs have crept up a little bit, but they're still at historical lows, right? And if we can see from a business standpoint, and I think the market is reflective of that, you can see, listen, don't have to tell people about inflationary pressures. We all see it in the store, in the supermarket, in services, with our gas bill, whatever it is. We all see it every day. That's real, right? We've been there. We've done that. We can see our way through to the other side. I'm seeing some green shoots out there. Some inflationary pressures are starting to low. Commodity prices are starting to go. They will take some time to work their way into our system, right? But we've been there 17 times before as a brand, and we've always gotten to the other side. And I will tell you specifically with COVID and now 2.5 years, we are coming out the other side stronger than we were. Over 10 years of our ownership, we've got 67% average unit volume growth, and 22% of that is over 20% of that has been in the last 2.5 years. And so we were positively impacted in COVID in terms of our AUVs. We lost some locations during COVID because leases weren't renewed or whatever. But I can tell you, we are coming out stronger out of COVID because of working together with all of our stakeholders, including and specifically our franchise association, and making decisions all along the way, returning ad fund money to people to use it to enhance their drive-through, because that's where all our business was. Don't spend money. You got all the business you need to have. We abated royalty. We abated some advertising payments, and did why to help our operators get to the other side of this, as we have done 16 times before in our history as a brand.
Kevin, I want to rotate over to the product side, and I think this aligns nicely because obviously that's the why on the business front. But I would say I would challenge anyone to try drinking an A&W root beer without smiling. Like it's something that warms you up. So while in a recession, a super recession, a depression, probably when A&W first battled this, it might have been more of an indulgent occasion, but it was still something that was necessary to make humans feel happy, because it is something that is nostalgic and tasteful and it's a celebration. I've talked with you, and frankly, I think you would fight to death's end that your product and everything but the root beer is just as good as anybody else, and frankly better. But on the root beer side, like, you still have that item. From a why you on the product standpoint, is it like we have that and we've innovated so much on these other things to now build the culture of product?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we were one of the original craft beverages, right? And we all know what's happened in the craft beverage industry. So when we acquired the business a little over 10 years ago, we looked at that and said, hey, we need to put the spotlight back on what brought us to the party, which is A&W root beer. First of all, it's about 75% of our carbonated soft drink beverage sales. People are coming to us for that signature product. From a purely financial standpoint, the margins, beverage margins are strong, as anybody in this industry know. Root beer is the strongest. A&W root beer is the strongest. So it's a good thing that we sell 75% of it. And it's the only place you can get it. We have in terms of pouring rights, it's the only place you can get draft fountain A&W root beer. The glass mug, the frosted glass mug, as we've talked about before, is iconic. The customers will go out of their way to come get it. We hear that time and time again. So that root beer is it. But starting with the root beer, when we got re-engaged in the brand, when we acquired the business 10 over years ago, and as you know, all three of us, our histories, myself included, with the brand go well beyond, before 10 years. My own history is 35 plus years, and Linda's 50 over years, and Dale approaching 60. And so we've been around a while, not just the last 10 years. And using that root beer as that calling card, that premium calling card, we put a stake in the ground when we acquired the business and said, listen, our long-term value proposition is going to be quality. It's going to center on quality. We introduced hand-breaded chicken tenders 3 or 4 years after we did the acquisition. That started and was voted the best product in a restaurant in a community in Michigan that was a restaurant that was operated by Linda Mulder. And we brought that product. We went system-wide with it. We've got a white cheese, Wisconsin cheddar cheese curds that came from Green Bay market that is now a staple on our menu. These are quality products that are not severely discounted in order to attract the customer. We're standing on our quality, and you're absolutely right. It starts with our root beer, ideally served in a frosted mug. Obviously, COVID has put some restrictions on that over the last couple of years, but it's coming back. Obviously, we can't do that on delivery or drive-through, but people will come into our restaurant so they can get that signature product in a mug. And we never lose sight of. So quality is our long-term value initiative. We've been executing against that for 10 years. We continue to execute menu work that we're doing, menu engineering that we're doing literally right now as we speak to drive better penny profits. But our overall mission, our overall goal from day one, and it's true today as it was 10 plus years ago, and it will be as long as I think any one of the three of us continue to stay engaged with the brand, and that is this is a penny profit business. We are focused on driving and increasing profitable sales growth at the restaurant, profitable for our franchise partners, so that I'm not sure I agree with Dale that they're happy to write that royalty check, but they don't begrudge the royalty check. Right?
They're happier than they were.
They're happier than they're less unhappy, if you may. But because our focus is, and literally Nick and Linda will attest this in our franchise association meetings, certainly all of our internal meetings, they start and end with how will this help generate better penny profit, grow sales profitably for that individual store. Yeah. We have those conversations every day. Next week, we've got 3 days of meetings, and I will tell you that issue will come up in every single conversation about what we're doing with the brand.
Linda, I want to go to you with a question about product, but before I do, I do want to say the statement. I think, Kevin, in a penny profit world, like the reality is the customer has to be willing to pay for that quality, and so that innovation is essential because they're not complaining about rising costs because they feel like the value is there. And same with what Dale was saying with royalties, like it's. Franchisees, the customer would love for you to give their food away. Franchisees would love for there to be no royalty. But when you show value, then they understand the cost associated with it. Linda, as you think through your history with the business, one, how excited are you on the product line today versus other periods? And what motivates your team or your customers when it comes to the product? Do you hear the reflection on all the hard work that's been done by the franchise organization?
I think so. I mean, start with chicken tenders. I mean, we went from a freezer to fryer, frozen piece of chicken stuff, and the consumer didn't think it was very good, honestly, and neither did the franchisee. I mean, we know what we sell. We want to be proud of what we present to our customers like they're our friends. We don't want to serve crap. And so when we switch to like our new chicken tenders, we're proud to serve it. It's a wonderful product. We went through months of taking our hamburger down to the beginning. Like, how can we do a better job? How can we serve this juicier? How can we serve the bun hotter? And I think we came out the other side of that whole exercise with a better hamburger. And I think we're willing to apply that to every single thing we sell. It doesn't matter. French fries, onion rings. How can we make this better? I think that's our goal as a board, because if it's better, the customer will buy it. And we're convinced of that. That's our motivating factor in a lot of this taste testing that we do, because we have to wear our stretchy pants next week because there's going to be a lot of it. But that's behind it all. We want to make it better.
Dale, if you go back to the start, I'm sure you were proud of the product then, but I'm sure you're proud of it now. I mean, are you impressed with how far the brand has come on the product side throughout your career?
I'm incredibly impressed, Nick. When we started my career, we had hot dogs and root beer and popcorn, and that was our menu. And where we've gone from that, some of our old timers would say we made a mistake changing from that. We still should be selling only popcorn, hot dogs, but the marketplace hasn't allowed for that. We have to be cognizant of what the consumer wants, what the consumer demands, in fact, and of course what competition has caused. So, we've made the necessary changes over the period of time, and we change. It's just a changing position on a constant basis. Just never stops. You just have to make what the customer wants and be sure you know what that is.
Dale, when you're having conversations with franchisees, call it new blood into the system today,
Right.
what makes you proud about them? And when you see their energy comes in, what excites you with the current franchisees that are entering the system?
Well, they're like a new breath of fresh air, if you know what I mean. The fact is that some of us, and I'm in that category, been around a long time, don't have the energy that's necessary to really do this business anymore. But the young people and the new people that are coming on board, they're very excited about it. It's a great product. It's a great name. And it's a great family to be associated with. They won't find a better place to spend their life than with family A&W.
That's awesome. Linda, as you think about the third generation coming up, any hesitation of we're done with the family business? Any convincing? Do they have to go through the same thing you did, where you're like, maybe I'll go be a teacher instead, and then have that aha moment? Or what are you doing from a family standpoint to keep this tradition going?
Well, it's in the beginning stages for a couple of them, and so they're going to have to learn some work ethic about, punching in early, staying late, what's necessary, and who knows where it's going to go. I mean, I think it'll be successful, but they're human beings too, so we'll see how it goes.
At what point in your A&W story with children and next generation are you saying this is a legacy business for us?
It is a legacy business, and we just have to make sure we keep the legacy alive and give them the guidance they need. I think they're very open-minded. They're going to learn. They're willing to learn. They're young. They got young backs, they can stay out all night and go to the bar and come to work the next day, just like we all did when we were 29 and 25. So they'll find their own way, I think, and they'll learn to love it too.
Well, and I don't know if this is a generalist statement, but my perception is younger folks coming into business, the thing that they desire most is having a voice. And that could be as simple as saying, work from home is important for me in a career. But in an A&W world, I think that message actually resonates well with the next generation that could be coming up, that is conducive. And the reality is that nostalgic, it will always carry the business too, because every child is going to have a memory associated with it, with the first time they had a root beer float. So it's like you give them a voice, which is transformed over the last 10 years. And you're able to access things that they can access in their brains that are memorable, happy moments. It seems like this could be a very viable business, even though it's legacy, but it could be very viable in the needs and wants of the next generation that comes up.
Yeah. And they'll figure it out. I mean, their value system, they want more time off. Well, they'll figure out how to do that. They'll figure out how to have people work in their place, and that hopefully they can work a little smarter than I did and take more time off. So I think there's room for that. It's just like everything in this business, you figure it out.
I want to do a round robin on this to close us out. But Linda, if I say why you, why now? Why A&W, why now to a franchisee? What would your advice be?
Because it's going to be one of the only places you'll have a real voice and ability to control your destiny.
And Dale, same question to a franchise buyer that's out there. Why A&W, why now?
I think one of the things I'm the most proud about is in my family being involved in this business is they have been able, even though they've worked very, very hard, they put in a lot of hours, they still have that time that they can use for themselves and make their own time. When their kids played ball and they had a ball game, they were able to take off and go and see the kids play ball. Whatever the kids had to do, they could make their schedule around that. And so you are truly self-sufficient in terms of your work life. And I think that's a wonderful thing to be able to do.
I love it. I think there's a good, definitely a good point on you can be a part of the community, you can be a part of your family, and you can do that together.
You got some freedom that you don't have when you're working for the big conglomerate, for the big guy.
Yeah. And Kevin, take us home. Why A&W, why now? And then any closing thoughts?
Yeah, why A&W, why now? I mean, we've got 10 years now under current ownership group, which isn't changing. Again, there's no exit strategy. We've had good momentum. And I personally, with what I know is on our plate, how we've performed over the last 10 years, I'm more excited about the next 10 years. So we've got some momentum going. We've got strong brand identity. Quality is our long-term value proposition. We're not out discounting. We're doing stuff locally, but we're not out discounting nationally to drive traffic to benefit the franchisor. We're focused on that penny profit. We're focused on growing profitable same-store sales and opening profitable new stores. And while I can't disclose exact numbers in that, it's still early days, I can tell you that the new stores that we've opened thus far this year, with process we put in place, with learnings that we put in place out of COVID, whether how to get more people through the drive-through faster, how to handle remote payment better, et cetera, our new stores are opening at significantly above our average rate. So I'm confident that the next 10 years, our sales will continue to grow, and I think at a stronger rate than in the last 10 years.
I appreciate it. What a wonderful discussion with the three of you. I appreciate your guys' time. I appreciate your story, and I'm sure our audience has gotten great nuggets out of this as well. For Kevin, Dale, and Linda, I'm Nick Powles. Thank you, everyone, for spending some time with us and learning it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.